Okay, so in 1968, when you were in Korea, you were hospitalized.
Right.
Do you remember how?
No, I don't remember I don't even remember how I got there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't remember anything about that, how I ended up in a hospital. However, I was involved in a what you might call blast shock,
Mm-hmm.
in which I was sick, and I ended up sitting inside of the driver's compartment, which barely fits half of your body in there.
Right.
It's only made for one person, and I was in there crawled in. I was crawled in there because I was very very sick, and they went into a fire mission without me knowing about it while I was in their driver's compartment.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened? The blast was tremendous,
Oh my gosh.
and it my head, it hit like the side of you know it just
The walls or whatever
splashed. My head just snapped to the side real hard,
Mm-hmm.
and I had gotten a serious headache I cannot forget, which went from the right side of my brain going all the way across. Okay, and it was an experience that you couldn't imagine how terrible it was. So after that, they went into another fire mission
Mm-hmm.
while I was in there,
Right.
and the same thing happened. Now I'm the assistant gunner. I'm the guy that normally would be up there on the gun, this M110 8-inch howitzer, and I would be up there, and the gunner would be up there. Okay, now I don't know. I guess they just left me in that driver's compartment, knowing that I was sick, and they just went on with the fire missions, and it just blasted me. Okay, now how I ended up in a hospital, I don't remember.
It was after that?
It, it had to be, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was after that. Yeah, it was after that
Mm-hmm.
that I ended up in a hospital.
So you had that traumatic brain stuff going on.
Right.
The amount of sound, pressure, noise,
Yeah.
and jolting.
Right. So all that. I mean, this is a heavy artillery.
Heavy artillery.
This is a gun that weighs 58,500 pounds. Okay, 29 ton.
So when they say gun, it's not really a gun that we think of it
No,
as.
we call it a gun just as a, but it's an M110 8-inch howitzer.
And where are you? What country?
We're in Korea, South Korea, and
with respect to the borders, where are you?
What was that?
With respect to the borders.
Well, we weren't far from the DMZ because where we're located was just off the DMZ, not far at all.
Mm-hmm.
But
So you're very close to the DMZ
yeah,
border.
what happened was, I believe, okay, the night before that,
Mm-hmm.
I know that was placed on guard
Mm-hmm.
the night before that,
Mm-hmm.
because I know we stayed overnight, at least overnight, out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
So I was placed on guard that same time we stayed overnight in the field. To guard, it had to be at least 30, it could have been 50, could have been more. I mean, 55-gallon drums,
Mm-hmm.
okay, of this pesticide stuff that they use to kill the leaves.
Okay.
Okay, and that's done for the purpose of, so you could see the enemy if they're coming or whatever, And
So you're protecting these drums? You're on watch
yeah,
how many of these drums are on you? I mean,
they're all around me.
Mm-hmm.
They're all around me, and I'm saying at least 30,
Mm-hmm.
and I know it had to be even more, but
Right.
because it was going around this whole. I mean, I'm just visioning that it was
Right.
at least 30. Okay, and what happened while I was there, I remember that night because my feet had gotten totally numb that night. That's why I remember it, because my feet were like numb. I couldn't even feel them under me. And I believe that's probably what I was sick from the day after,
Right.
that I ended up being inside this compartment and, and the blast shock and all that stuff. Okay?
So you got exposed to these drums that you're babysitting.
Yeah. I was exposed to that. My feet were totally numb.
Right.
And that's how I remember that. And I also recall there was spraying going on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, exactly where, I mean, how can I determine exactly where? But I do recall that there was spraying going on by the people from the Korean Army.
Right.
The Rock Army, we call it. And there was also spraying going on around my base, I remember. Right across from us, there's it's like the hill goes down and then it starts going up. And right in that area across from us, they were spraying the Rock Army people. They were spraying over there. Now that's an area we used to go, like on Sundays mainly, when we would exercise, running through that, going all the way up the mountain through that, and so on and so forth. So I was definitely exposed to these chemicals.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you were getting side effects at that time. And in hindsight, now that you're looking back, and your feet were numb, you couldn't feel them.
Right.
You've always complained about the numbness in your legs and feet. The next day, you were so sick that you had to crawl in a hole. Unbeknownst to you, they went into their mission. That blasting with the howitzers was...
Yeah, it was totally tremendous blast. I mean, you're talking about... We used to fire, and there would be, if there's a village all the way down, and the Koreans would come complaining that the roofs flew off of
their homes.
Off of their homes, because the projectiles flew over them, and the amount of power it has, it was like very, very powerful. And they come complaining that their roofs would fly off of their homes from that. So it's very, very powerful. It's called the M110 8-inch howitzer. Okay? And so that's what happened to me. I ended up in the hospital, and I had these tremors in the hospital.
And that's documented, actually, from your hospital.
That's correct. And then, and I had very high fevers, and I was in the hospital for approximately, 3 weeks. Okay? I was hospitalized with very high fevers and tremors. And these tremors kept occurring even after. I mean, I was discharged from the Army in 73. I got married in 72. So your mother also had witnessed from the beginning that I had gone through these tremors. And I believe I had also reported that to the VA clinic in, I'm talking about back in the 70s. I reported to the VA
Right.
clinic in the Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, plus whatever other problems I was having. I don't recall every detail I reported, but if anything, they should be able to backtrack
Mm-hmm.
that information. Overall, yeah, I've reported a lot of symptoms through the years in reference to not being able to sleep, in reference to uh, memory loss. I mean, it's unbelievable that you look back and you just can't visualize anything in reference to the past. Other than situations that may have occurred that had some kind of a
Traumatic impact
traumatic
on you.
impact. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, even while I was on base there, they had to give me certain medications to keep me calm and things like that.
Your nerves were affected.
Yeah. I mean, I had smashed my hand with a big rock, and I don't even know why or how.
Mm-hmm.
And they stitched it up over there, and the bone had crushed in half, and they put it together. And I don't know. I don't. My memory is definitely, and basically that's what happened. So
Okay.
we were exposed, and it shows on record that all the units, because they had authorized the units within a certain distance from around the DMZ area.
Mm-hmm. And you were even closer than the ones that.
That's correct. What happened was, if you look on the map where it shows these units
Mm-hmm.
that were authorized as being sprayed,
Mm-hmm.
that are known as being sprayed,
Mm-hmm.
every unit north, south, east, west of us
Mm-hmm.
was there.
And what unit were you?
I was 1st Battalion, 17th Artillery,
Mm-hmm.
and I was Charlie Battery, we call it. So we were we called the Persuaders, and basically 1st Battalion, 17th Artillery, 8th Army, and that's the unit I belong to, which would pertain to Camp McIntyre.
Mm-hmm.
Camp McIntyre was our headquarters. Now,
Where's that at?
well, our battalion, we were kind of split. Like, you got Camp McIntyre, which is near us.
So in Korea?
Huh?
In Korea?
In Korea, yeah. And then you got A battery. They break us up into each battery having 4 guns, 4 of these cannons. So we had A battery, Bravo battery, and Charlie battery. And I was Charlie battery. And we were like close together, around these hills and stuff, and we went on fire missions often, very often, almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
I know my gun alone had fired, I don't know, at least over 3,000 rounds or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And that's just my gun, because we were battalion base piece, whatever. But anyway, so that's what I went through. I went through the traumatic experience with what happened with the while I was in that gun, while I was sick.
Mm-hmm.
I was guarding pretty large amount of 55-gallon drums of this herbicide stuff.
Which later was said to be
to have all these effects, and
Agent Orange, no?
yeah, it was Agent Orange that it had all these effects, and I wasn't looking into them, other than I ran across that many years ago.
I'm sweating talking about this.
Where people were talking online about it, and I ended up, I saw this guy. He was from the same camp, from the headquarters camp, and he was complaining about Agent Orange. That's where I mostly got to understand a little bit about it, and then he had later got approved for 100% disability on for diabetes too, because of the exposure of Agent Orange at the time. So, and then I also had, through this stuff online or whatever, you get to know other contacts, people in the same that are talking the same interests over there, and
now medically, what do you have?
Later there was also a captain. No, actually, this fella Carlos Frausto had given me the information on this captain that was aware of the spraying that went on around the area. And I recall, I'm almost certain I recall me having communication with him, and him stating that yes, we were definitely sprayed in all our areas over there. And I believe he was affiliated with where or what was being sprayed. He had, and his name, I forget his name. I put it in there, Phil something, Captain Phil, whatever. So, yeah.
All right, let me cut this real quick.